President Buhari reiterates homegrown policies targeted at food security.
Senate President says planned protests over proposed removal of fuel subsidy on coffee.
House of Representatives to introduce Electoral Act Amendment Bill to address concerns raised in the provision for direct primaries.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall be scrutinizing the rice revolution in Nigeria.
Some years back, Nigeria was leading other African countries in the importation of rice, costing the nation millions of dollars in forex. This led to a depletion of the foreign reserve, among other negative impacts on the nation as a whole.
Well, matters were made worse by the crash in the price of crude oil, and insecurity had also reared its head as a result of farmers and herders' clashes. And all of that prevented people from going about their daily lawful activities on the farms.
Now, today the story is different, as locally produced rice now dominates rice markets in Nigeria, as Nigerians are beginning to appreciate the relevance of eating homegrown food, thereby rekindling confidence in the local rice farmer and the rebirth of a functional and effective value chain created through rice farming business.
Not only that, Kirian, Nigerians now appear to be more enlightened, as it were, and are cautious about the health implications of consuming imported food, especially rice, most of which we understand contain preservatives, or otherwise the products are expired and they found their way into our markets.
All thanks to President Buhari's insistence on Nigeria's Eating and Buying Nigeria initiative as a way of saving the nation's economy from depletion. The citizens from the pangs of starvation and the market from importation of foreign rice laced with various hazardous preservatives detrimental to human health.
Now, the government's support to farmers through the Central Bank of Nigeria, where, of course, you have the Anchor Borrowers Program, as well as a number of other initiatives, have tended to increase the yield per hectare. And, of course, what we are seeing today is the outcome of those initiatives.
All right. And this did not only engage the nation's youths productively, as many now divert into farming as a means of livelihood. As at 2020, it was reported that Nigeria produced over 8 million metric tons of milled rice in a year, surpassing the outputs of Egypt and other nations on the African continent.
Well, this initiative, according to experts, has saved Nigeria from hunger. And of course, this is what was partly witnessed during the lockdown over the coronavirus pandemic in 2020. Now, this is because as other countries were playing protectionist policies with food export, Nigeria, as it were, was able to feed on what she produces. There was enough food to satisfy the people. That's according to one account.
This I will call a success story and a pride of the nation's ability to cater for herself, where political will is sturdy and robust. But for how long will this success story last, and what can be done to sustain this eating story, or elating story rather, of the rice revolution in Nigeria? The program Good Morning Nigeria will take a leap into the way forward for the sustainability of the feat. Thank you for taking time to be with us this morning on the program. My name is Kirian Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to another edition of the good program, Good Morning Nigeria, live on NTA's network service as we discuss the rice revolution in Nigeria. Of course, we'll be taking a look at the various ramifications of that revolution, and as Kirian also indicated, how sustainable it should be and it could be. We, of course, have our complimentary segments, and those will include newspaper review and business. Right now, here's Dennis Adegunloye, who has the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Kirian. Good morning, Nigerians. Here is the morning news. The FCT mega rice pyramids, considered the largest in Africa, have been unveiled by President Muhammadu Buhari. They are the product of his administration's rice revolution drive, powered by the Anchor Borrowers Program of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The president described the pyramids as a clear indication that the homegrown policies targeted at securing food for all Nigerians is achieving the desired objectives.
It's no doubt a testament to the fact that the Anchor Borrowers Program is working. Our country is making steady and assured progress towards self-sufficiency in food production as a critical policy.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is described as a worrisome escalation the drone strikes in the United Arab Emirates that's caused explosions and a deadly fire outside the capital, Abu Dhabi. In a reaction to the incident on Monday, President Buhari said such attacks targeting innocent people and civilian structure leading to the loss of lives were condemnable by all reasonable opinions around the globe and should be stopped. A statement by the senior special assistant to the president said President Buhari condoled with the people and government of the UAE on behalf of the governments and people of Nigeria and urged restraint to give dialogue and engagement a chance. And President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja today for Banjul, Republic of Gambia, to attend the inauguration of Gambian President Adama Barrow following his re-election for a second term. On the invitation of his host, President Buhari will be special guest of honor at the ceremonies to be attended by other African leaders at the Independence Stadium, Bakau. The president will be accompanied by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyema, the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mongonu, retired, Director General, National Intelligence Agency, Ambassador Ahmed Rufai, and other top government officials. The president is expected back in the country at the end of the inauguration ceremonies. Senate President Ahmed Lawan is assuring Nigerians that the Buhari presidency is yet to take any definite stand on the nation's fuel subsidy regime, and therefore the planned protests by the organized labor over rumors on proposed removal of fuel subsidy is uncalled for. Addressing journalists after an audience with the president, Senator Lawan stated unequivocally that the Nigerian leader will not transfer the burden of the cost of subsidy to the citizens.
To inform Nigerians that Mr. President never told anyone that the petroleum subsidy should be removed. I want to commend Mr. President for still keeping this philosophy of ensuring that the most ordinary Nigerian does not suffer in any way.
And the Senate is to strengthen its instrument of oversight on budget implementation in order to ensure increased revenue generation and puts a stop to borrowing. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, stated this when he welcomed his colleagues back from the Christmas and New Year holidays.
The Senate will develop a strategy of engagement with revenue-generating agencies on how to make them achieve their targets and generate more revenues in 2022. On the Electoral Act 2010, having consulted, the Senate will expeditiously look into the issue.
The House of Representatives is to introduce the Electoral Act Amendment Bill later today to address concerns raised, in particular, the provision for direct primaries to nominate candidates to contest elective positions. The President had, in December 2021, communicated to the National Assembly his decision withholding assent to the bill, detailing the security, financial and legal implications of the provision.
Including a direct primary mandate in the law would have forced political parties to properly register their members within the shortest possible time. This would have been the singular most significant reform of our political primary system, party system, in a generation.
As the federal government, through the Ministry of Aviation, is doing all it takes to repair the Gembu airstrip on the Mambila Plateau, Taraba State, the Mambila Air is set to recommence operations in the axis using helicopters pending fixing of the airstrip.
There has been news all over the place that the Mambila Dam is coming up. And as you can see, traveling from Jalingo to Gembu is 8 hours or more if you have a bad car. Many people would like to come here very fast and go very fast.
First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has called on Nigerian women to redouble their efforts and continue to show greater interest and commitment to governance and other decision-making processes for the good of the country. The First Lady, who stated this at the APC National Women Conference, also unveiled the APC Progressive Women Academy mobile app.
Is being held to establish our commitment to strengthen the position of women in matters of national importance, especially in increasing the visibility of women, positioning women for future political offices, and encouraging them to inspire more towards the progress of our great party.
The timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general elections will be released once the Electoral Act Amendment Bill is signed into law. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu gave the assurance in Abuja during a meeting with chairmen of the political parties.
2023 general election is just 396 days away. All the critical preparations must be concluded this year.
The increasing number of secondary school graduates necessitated the establishment of 8 new federal polytechnics and 6 federal colleges of education in 2021 to accommodate more Nigerians. These new institutions now have governing councils inaugurated by the Minister of Education, Adamu.
The Council shall be the governing body of the institution with powers of general control and superintendence over the policy, the finance, and the safeguard of properties of the institution.
Well, those are the highlights of the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues after this break with Kingsley and Kieran. Have a great day.
COVID-19, that is the black swan of the century, has actually hit the whole world very hard, even the strongest of economies, and Nigeria was not spared. But due to the proactive stance and steps that the president has taken, we've been able to come out quickly. The president has consistently said we must invest in infrastructure. Even as we're investing in human capital, that we must invest in infrastructure, because at the end of the day, that is what will bring about a sustainable economic growth. So the president has given us our directive. He has said you must make sure you pay salaries and pay pensions, but you also make sure that the critical projects of roads, railway, airports, bridges, major infrastructure that are meant to drive the growth of the economy, that we consistently invest in them, even if we have to continue to borrow to do so.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Everybody knows the secret to good cooking is that special ingredient. The mothers know it, but does this new generation know it? Let's find out. Mothers, daughters, are you ready? Yes! Let the cooking begin.
Erisco tomato paste. Now we get home, now we get love, now we get children. We spice the world with a meal so great and so healthy. You know we've got your back. Oh, with Erisco, Rigico, Nagico.
Ladies and gentlemen, food is ready.
Food of
Good food for the body. Yum yum for the body.
Erisco Richico and Nagico tomato paste is made by Erisco Foods Limited, feeding Africans with healthy foods.
See, nurse, she's saying she feels unwell despite my efforts to practice good hygiene.
Mom says wash your hands to keep the germs away.
Washing hands is good, but surfaces can also have germs, and you shouldn't use just anything for cleaning them. Use Jig. Jig's formula has been scientifically proven to stay active for longer, giving you whitening and germ kill protection on a variety of surfaces. Disinfect to protect, just Jig it. Endorsed by National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer-long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of NTA. And now let's go business. In spite of some challenges, Nigeria's oil production will hit 1.7 million barrels per day in 2022. Let's now join Aleka Ogbanachi-Arua for details.
A new report by Cardinal Stone Research has indicated a forward leap for the industry in 2022, aided by progress across the upstream, midstream, and downstream subsectors. The firm stated that in the upstream, oil production is likely to be positively impacted by increased drilling activities and steady oil prices. In addition, the firm stated that refinery projects are also slated to reach key milestones in the midstream and the coming on board of a private refinery in mid-2022. This view, they maintained, is also premised on the expected impact of elevated oil prices, which is incentivizing drilling activities across board, as demonstrated by the gradual increase in rig counts since the end of June 2021. The report also notes that the imminent launch of the 160,000 barrel per day Amokpe Escravos export terminal could support production, as it offers an alternative to the Transforcados pipeline, which had a 74.0% uptime in the first 9 months of 2021. With business news, Aleka Ogbanachi-Arua.
Thank you very much, Aleka, for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Up next is Newspaper Review.
All right, it's now time for newspaper review. And of course, Councillor Bayo is not here with us today.
That's right. So we'll take the papers we have in turn. We have The Nation, Leadership, and I believe you also have the Daily Sun newspaper. Let's begin by taking a look at the front page of the Leadership newspaper. That will be the first. We shall be taking a look at Leadership newspaper. Nigeria is becoming self-sufficient in food production, and that is attributed to President Muhammadu Buhari. With a rider, we have achieved 9 million metric tons in rice production, and that's attributed to the central bank government. 2023, no electoral law, no election timetable, INEC wants. That's the double-decker headline for the lead story. Details on page 4. And says passage of bill crucial to preparation. Will expedite action on bill. That's Lawan, Senate President. And reps reconsider bill today as Senate concludes consultation. Bandits attacked 300 Niger communities, kidnapped 200 in 16 days. That's on page 6. Bandits attacked 300 Niger communities and kidnapped 200 in 16 days. President Buhari never directed removal of fuel subsidy. That's according to Lawan. And Kano, that's Nnamdi Kano, declines to take plea on fresh terrorism charges. Server failure slows down NIN registration. And progressives women seek better deal from APC. Oshibajo urges Nigerians to imbibe Sardauna's virtues. That's on page 6.
All right, let's turn to the Daily Sun newspaper. Ugwuanyi empowers Enugu youth through cybersecurity training, as on page 27. National Assembly dumps plan to override Buhari revisits electoral bill, likely to pass bill today. INEC blamed delay in release of 2023 timetable on non-passage of the bill, as on page 6. 220 killed in 17 days in Niger State, according to Governor Bello of that state. Matawale seeks more efforts to tackle banditry in Zamfara, as on page 30. Kidnapping. Oyo CP visits flashpoints on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, as on page 27. 2023, Aisha Buhari tasks APC on giving women vital positions, as on page 28. Federal government launches rice pyramids, promises drop in price. It's also on page 28. Kano IPOP ground southeast as Ozekome joins defense team. The story is on pages 4 and 30 of the Daily Sun newspaper.
Here, let's also take a look at the front page of The Nation. Now, above the nameplate of The Nation, you have the headlines. No decision yet on petrol subsidy removal, says Lawan. That's page 7. 2023, coalition begins lobby for Jonathan. And Moses Ayom writes Buhari, that's a writer, with that 300 killed, 200 abducted in Niger within 2 weeks. 300 killed, 200 abducted in Niger within 2 weeks. That's on page 3. And below the nameplate, and that's the lead story with a double-decker headline, how governors foiled plot to scuttle APC convention. New leaders to be elected February 26th, and Buhari's support sealed date. Nigeria on food sufficiency path, says Buhari, and 1 trillion naira sunk into rice production. You can see the photograph there on the front page. Dignitaries, including President Muhammadu Buhari, standing before one of the rice pyramids unveiled in the Federal Capital Territory yesterday. President to get reworked electoral bill this week. And Lawan raises hope. Senate and House begin work. And then right at the foot of the front page, Kano APC crisis. Appeal court schedules hearing for Friday. And oil firms relocate offshore. Details on page 7. Kirian, those are the stories that we have on the front pages of the papers. Incidentally, we're discussing the rice issue in our conversation segment on the program today.
The one that really attracts my attention, is this issue of banditry in Niger State. It's becoming one too many. Over 200 killed and about the same number of people kidnapped. The way they do this with success is what is bothering me. And they're now operating without being checkmated by the security operatives in that area. Because, they do it with ease. And sometimes in the broad daylight, not even late in the late hours. The last time we had was about 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So,
That's right, Kirian. We cannot squabble over the exact numbers of persons who are killed, because the Daily Sun is reporting 220. The Nation is reporting 300 killed and 200 abducted in Niger within 2 weeks. Whatever the number is, provided at least it is one individual who has lost his or her life to bandits, it should be worrisome. And when you add that to what is also happening in Zamfara, if you recall, there was some issue about whether the appropriate figures were reported. Some said 200. The governor came out to say there were about 50 persons. Why is it that there are such rampant killings in those places? And what can further be done to stem the tide? We know that the security forces are out there. The military, of course, is in various parts of the country. They have deployed most of their platforms, including the kinetic platforms, to deal with these bandits. And more essentially, what is their modus operandi? How do they operate? How come they tend to operate with ease and then just take off? I recognize the fact that the land area in Niger is extensive. And if you remember, Kirian, some Islamic school pupils were kidnapped for several months in some rural location in Niger, and it took them quite a while. One of the kids, about 3 or 4 years old, lifeless body, was found after he was dumped. Those rural peasants had to sell off whatever they had to pay the ransom, which was also rejected at some point by the bandits. The question should be, why is it that bandits in Niger and Zamfara still, as it were, have a free reign?
Exactly, and the last incident, they were requesting some liters of fuel. You see, they have the audacity to be making some requests. In some other case, it was wanted some bags of rice and tomato and condiments, for the food items. This time around, they are looking for some liters of fuel, of course, to power their bikes, which they use very extensively. I think the military should actually apply some, deploy some technology, because of the land mass, of the area, to see if technology can assist them in terms of locating, the whereabouts of these elements. And again, to be able to perhaps, have an idea when they begin their operation. If they have good satellites, set in that area, obviously, whatever movement they make, we'll be seeing via satellites. I don't know whether they have the capacity and capability to deploy such a technology to do that, because otherwise these guys will always have their way.
Kirian, the argument can also be made that the audacity that the bandits are now displaying is probably a fallout of their frustration with the various measures put in place to frustrate their activities, namely cut off their logistics. That's to say, they don't have access to fuel supplies, as we saw some time ago in Katsina, where an embargo was imposed, markets closed, and so on and so forth. But the fact that they are getting more daring and coming into the public space to be demanding for supplies means that these are persons who are readily identifiable. But how much cooperation can we continue to get from the locals themselves? Because it is also sometimes reported that some locals are said to be collaborating with the bandits, giving them information. And this is in addition to the fact that there is protection racketeering, because they are collecting levies from this person. And the point was made some months ago, that was late last year, that it appeared that apart from the bandits, some Boko Haram elements were setting up camps in and around some localities in Niger. So what has been done with regard to that? On the aspect of the military getting in, I think that, fair enough, we rely on our military, but we should begin to also de-escalate our demands on the military. We have some 20-something security and defense agencies in Nigeria. Ordinarily, when you say that you have this kind of crisis, as it were, banditry crisis in a certain part of the country, you deploy the other agencies. You have a good number of them. What is it that they are doing?
They're doing exactly. Now, this issue of electoral bill, the INEC has just said that it will delay the release of election timetable, because the bill has not been passed. But I'm just wondering, we already have dates for handover power, as it were. So for me, determining the election dates, I don't know whether it has any link to the electoral bill being passed, because already there's a terminal date for this administration, and there's also a period of time when the election should hold, before perhaps swearing in and what have you. Those dates are there, they're sacrosanct, right? So why wouldn't they give Nigerians the electoral election dates, or timetable rather?
Well, I think that it probably would be unfair to assume that this is an act of blackmail by INEC. But INEC says that it needs proper guidance for functioning in terms of other aspects of its preparations for the general elections coming up next year. And that proper guidance will come from the law itself, which is the Electoral Act that is supposed, of course, to guide it. And part of what we saw in 2015 was that the Electoral Act that was amended at that time could not, of course, skate through because it was deemed to be too close to the elections. And you should have a lead time of at least 6 months before the elections to have all of those things sorted out. It is not just the provision on direct primaries or otherwise that is critical. There are several other critical provisions in the electoral amendment bill that will guide the activities and operations of INEC itself.
I'll agree with you in terms of operations, but then on the dates of election, or timetable for election, maybe the date for House of Reps or National Assembly, but what does it have to do with operations? Just dates.
If you recall, Kira, if you recall, on Good Morning Nigeria, 4 years, almost 4 years or so ago, there was heated debate over the powers to indicate the timetable for elections or the order for elections, whether it will be presidential election that will come first or whether it will be the State House of Assembly elections that will come first. That was one of the clauses that we had in the amendment bill for the Electoral Act ahead of the 2015 election. And
is it part of what we have?
We don't know. Because why am I saying this? The president has already vetoed the amendment bill. Vetoed, which means that we are in the position of stasis. So the two chambers of the National Assembly say they are going to go back to rework the bill itself, which is to say they are not planning now to override the president's veto. All right. If they rework the bill, are they just going to rework only one or two aspects of it?
Because that is the bone of contention.
No, it's their prerogative. They may choose to now advert their minds to other provisions that they probably didn't
which they had already passed. Why would they revisit what they already passed?
No. That's why I said it is their prerogative. Because the bill, as it were, the president has already vetoed it. So that bill is in abeyance unless they override the president's veto. A more substantive issue, if you ask me, has to do with the if you like, originality of the copy of the electoral amendment bill that is in circulation. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, presiding over the plenary yesterday, raised the concern that the copy of the bill as passed by the National Assembly forwarded to the President would appear to be different from the bill that is in public circulation. And that is to say that maybe there's another version that is in the public domain. And if you recall, a coalition of civil society groups had issued a statement pointing out what they refer to as cross-referencing errors. Cross-referencing errors, for instance, would be like if you had said Section 35 of that provides for this, and this is in reference to Section 25, or 35 provides for this, Section 25, and there is no connection or relationship between those two sections. No, Kira, just hold. Is there really, if you like, a fake bill in the public domain? Because we had this with the petroleum industry bill for many years. At some point, they said there were 3 or 4 versions that were in the public domain.
Whatever is in the public domain should not concern the National Assembly. They should give us the original document. If the original document is out, perhaps whatever is in circulation is null and void. So, needless, we are paying attention to a nullity. Right. We're expecting to have the original copy of the bill by the time the National Assembly is done with it and is given to the president for him to assent to it. As soon as that is done, the public will now have the original document.
No, Kieran, you see, for public conversation, it is important that you have your facts right. And those facts will emanate from the document that you have. If you recall, there's been a great deal of energy expended on some of the, if you like, contentious provisions in the bill as passed by the National Assembly. And the legislature is now saying that it looks worrisome that what these persons are discussing do not appear to be in the bill that will pass to the president. In any case, the procedure is, once the legislature has passed a bill, they will transmit it to the president. Transmitting to the president is not a public transaction. It is between the legislature and the president. It is after the president has assented or declined to give his assent that you can now see the document in the public domain.
Yeah, exactly. Because one would even wonder, how did any fake document get to the public? Because of course they originated whatever is there. So how did it leak? As a matter of fact, if it leaked, it must be via the State National Assembly.
No, we can't reach that conclusion because again the Speaker said yesterday that he set up a committee to find out what happened and how it happened. And I think the report of that committee will be useful in guiding further conversations. It is critical because if you and I were to sit down here and then be discussing facts arising from a document which is not original, a document which is fake, we'll be expending our energies.
The most important aspect of this, Kingsley, is that when the president declined assent to that document, he pointed to the fact, the areas of his concern. It was so specific, Even when you said, look, that I recall one of our programs, you said, look, that constitutionally, that the president must not actually say this is the reason why I'm declining. But he made it clear, say, okay, it's his prerogative. He said, look, this is why I'm declining on this, touch on this aspect. So by the time
Kira, the president declined his accent and gave reasons which is not ordinarily obliged to do. But those reasons he gave included the fact about the direct primaries. And then he articulated the reasons. To say, look, it's anti-democratic, X, Y, Z, allow people to have options, and so on and so forth, cost of conducting primaries, and all of that, but not with the substance of, if you like, fake documents that are out there in the public domain. APC, at last, has now indicated that its convention will take place on the 26th of February. And arising from that convention, they will then have substantive officers to continue to run its affairs.
But we hope that between now and then that somebody will not go to court because this has been the trend, over the years, not just for APC, other political parties. There has never been a time when a party has planned to do a convention that some disgruntled members did not go to court to try to stop it, right? And the APC
if they choose to go to court, it will be their right. But it is the outcome of the litigation that is important. Already in the Federal Capital Territory, there are billboards of aspirants to various positions in the APC. One account by the Punch newspaper, we don't have that right here with us, I read that online, is to say that the APC has zoned its chairmanship position to the North Central. Again, that's almost like the difference between 6 and half a dozen. PDP has its chairman
from the North Central.
And there are billboards of persons who are seeking to be chairman of the APC are showing candidates from other parts,
from Northeast,
and other parts of the country.
Well, as it unfolds, let's see what happens, when it unfolds, because from conventions you're able to, know the direction the parties are going, in terms of who gets what, after the convention, because after the positions must have been shared in the party hierarchy, that will now determine where their presidential candidates, will emerge from.
That's right.
But by then, Nigerians will be so sure to say, look, it's coming from the south or from the north, for both parties.
That's right. All right, Kyria, just before we wrap up the newspaper review segment, the African Cup of Nations is taking place in Cameroon. Last night, there was a huge upset, and that upset speaks to the fact that there are no minions anymore in soccer. Comoros Island defeated Ghana.
Debutants, for that matter.
Absolutely, playing for the first time. Defeated Ghana 3-2. In fact, they were ahead 2-0 before Ghana put it back, and then they sealed it, Comoros, and of course knocked out Ghana in the round-robin stage. So Ghana out of Cup of Nations. They are 4-time champions. Today, the Super Eagles will be taking on Guinea-Bissau.
Honestly, for Ghana to live at this stage, it's really unbelievable that Ghana could live. And today's match between Nigeria and the Guinea-Bissau, well, I keep saying that our boys are good, no doubt about that, but the point is that there are no babies now in football, and
take nothing for granted,
exactly,
take no one for
granted. They have to be careful with the Guinea-Bissau because they also want to qualify, and they said they will do everything possible to stop the Super Eagles. And it's a possibility.
Well, the Super Eagles are already through to the next round.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean we should come and lose at this level.
No. I mean, it's certain that the Super Eagles should continue to improve on their record, and we'll see how things go. So, in the absence of any other thing else that we want to have time to speak on the Super Review segment, we'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be dealing with our conversation segment.
The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards. Arise, O Nigerians! Let's applaud the courage of Flight Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo, aka the Aggressor, for his skillful and dogged escape from the bloodthirsty bandits in the forest of Zamfara State. 3 hearty cheers also to all military and security personnel who are tirelessly protecting fellow Nigerians from insurgency and banditry while maintaining peace and order. Nigerians are proud of Abayomi Dairo and all our gallant men and women in uniform for sacrificing so much to keep us safe. We admire your courage and we say thank you. God bless the armed forces. God bless Nigeria. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.